Shalom Rav le'ohavei sarasecha b'chol asar v'asar. It's nice to have another opportunity to share some divrei Torah about the upcoming Moed. Rav Ari Levine, the tzaddik of Yerushalayim, on a regular basis would visit Jews from the underground that were held in British prisons before the establishment of the state. On Shabbos Chol Hamoed Pesach, when he visited the prison, he asked them how Leila Seder went. They told him, Rabbi, on one hand it was very uplifting, to eat the matzah, to drink the wine, just one problem. The Minhag Yisrael is when one says, Shfoch HaMascha El HaGoyim, one lifts the cup of wine and opens the door. We lifted the cup of wine, but weren't able to open the door. It's hard to feel Chag HaCherus when being locked up in prison. Rav Aryeh told them, you have a mistake. Pesach is not just celebrating our physical freedom. Pesach is celebrating also our spiritual freedom, our closeness to God. Lakachti eschem li la'am. That's something which one is able to feel even when he's in prison. What I take from this story is that Pesach is not only celebrating our leaving Egypt, but also learning some of the lessons that can be learned from the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim. I'd like to focus on one aspect, on one lesson that could be learned from our exodus from Mitzrayim. Rav Sadi Gaon, in the beginning of the Ma'amar Shmini of Sefer Emunos V'Deos, discusses why is it that the Torah emphasizes so many times the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim. The explanation which he suggests is the following. We know that the Jewish people is going through a very long galus. And when one sees the difficult situation which the Jewish people is in, one could lose hope. One could ask himself, Hatachyena ha'atzamos ha'ele? Things don't always seem like they're moving in the right direction. Is there any way we'll ever be able to get out of this mess? The answer to that, says Rav Sadi Gaon, is by looking back at the story of Mitzrayim. Also then the Jewish people was in a very bad way. Also then it didn't look like there was any future. But nevertheless, in light of the fact that HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised to Avram Avinu that Gamas HaGoy Asher Yavodu Dan Anochi V'achar Echen Yitzur B'chush Gadol, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised, and he fulfilled his promise. So certainly, if that was true of the Golos in the past, you have good reason, excellent reason to assume that that will also be true of our present Golos. After all, with respect to the future redemption, HaKadosh Baruch Hu promised a lot more than just Gamas HaGoy Asher Yavodu Dan Anochi, a lot more than the Rechush Gadol. So if HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he promised so little, delivered so much, took us out of Mitzrayim, Kara Lanu Asayam, gave us the man, gave us the Torah, brought us into Eretz Yisrael, certainly with respect to the future redemption, that the Nevi'im are full of all sorts of wonderful promises, we have excellent reason to assume that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will fulfill those promises. And thus, remembering Yetzias Mitzrayim helps us survive the difficult times we need to go through and gives us the confidence for a brighter future. This is, of course, also the message of the halacha that we're all familiar with of being somech geula letfila. Halacha says that we're meant to not be mapsik in between the bracha of Gal Yisrael and the tefillah and our Shemona Esrei. What's the importance of being somech geula letfila? So the Mefarshim explain that the geula, of course, is when we focus on Geulas Mitzrayim. Right after we remember Geulas Mitzrayim, we're meant to remember that HaKadosh Baruch Hu provides for us not only in the past, but also in the present as well. And thus, right after we speak of the nisim which HaKadosh Baruch Hu performed for us in redeeming us from Mitzrayim, we're meant to ask Him for more. Ask Him to also help us in the present. Concerning this, I heard a very beautiful idea from my brother, Mr. Alan Friedman. He suggested the following. We begin our Shemona Esrei with the words, Elokei Abraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. Why is this? So this phrase, Elokei Abraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, is one which appears quite a number of times, 3-4 times, in Parshas Shmos, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu reveals himself to Moshe Rabbeinu and tells Moshe to go to the Jewish people to tell them that redemption is coming soon. HaKadosh Baruch Hu uses that phrase. What's the significance of our borrowing that phrase from Parshas Shmos in our Shemona Esrei? He suggested the following. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu appears to Moshe Rabbeinu at the beginning of the parsha and tells him about the redemption, this is coming after a lengthy period when there was no nevuah given to the Jewish people. During the times of the Avos, HaKadosh Baruch Hu appeared to them on somewhat of a regular basis. But now, it was about 200 years, close to 200 years, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't communicate with Klal Yisrael. One might think that it's all over. God's concern for the Jewish people is no longer there. But nevertheless, HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. Just as I was with the forefathers, my intention is to bring a Geula, Livnei V'neihem. My intention is to redeem the children as well. And thus, at the beginning of Shemona Esrei, we remind ourselves that even if we're going through a difficult time, even if we can't feel that God is there, but we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with us, even if we can't always feel His presence. Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov is always there, always ready, Lavi Geula Livnei V'neihem. Just to take this in a little bit more of a personal level, each and every one of us has difficult times he goes through. One of the ways of our gaining chizuk in these difficult times is by remembering that also in the past, each and every one of us had experiences which weren't so easy for us. Each and every one of us had times when we needed HaKadosh Baruch Hu siyata d'shmaya, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu pulled through for us. So when we go through difficult times, we should remind ourselves, just as HaKadosh Baruch Hu redeemed us in the past, just as HaKadosh Baruch Hu helped me in the past, you have good reason to assume they'll do so in the future as well. A story is told of a chassid of Rabbi Yoshua Heschel Me'afta that had some business, but didn't earn enough money to pay the Paritz, the landowner, and the Paritz was getting quite upset. In fact, the Paritz sent some Cossacks to go and break his furniture, to break down part of his house, and the Jew was distraught. He didn't know what to do. That Shabbos, the Jew went and heard the drasha, the Shabbos HaGadol drasha. And the Rebbe darshaned that we have two brachos which are quite similar. We have the bracha of Gaal Yisrael, the bracha that we say before Shemona Esrei, the bracha that we say on Pesach night. We have the bracha of Goal Yisrael, the bracha we say in Shemona Esrei. Gaal Yisrael and the past, Goel Yisrael in the present. So just as HaKadosh Baruch Hu was Gaal Yisrael in Mitzrayim, each and every day HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Goal Yisrael. Said the Rebbe, even if there's a Jew that has to deal with the difficult parts, doesn't know how he's going to pay his bills, he has good reason to assume that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will be Goal Yisrael. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help him out. The chassid heard that, he went home and started dancing. Goal Yisrael, Goal Yisrael. All the people in the town gathered around. Even the parts gathered around. He didn't know what was happening. He asked, well, what exactly is this all about? And the Jew explained to him. The parts was so impressed by the Vart of the Rebbe that he forgave him for the debt and let him continue in his business. I can't vouch for the truth of the story, but we can vouch for the lesson behind it. May we be zocha this Pesach to feel the true geula. May we be zocha to feel HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence. Nisa nigalu, nisim asidim lihigal. Chag kasher v'sameach. All the best.